Water DON PASS GARRI. The African village of Umuachara had always been a place of modest contentment. Its residents, mostly farmers and traders, were used to the rhythms of life dictated by the land and the seasons. But this year, a strange hardship swept through the village, disrupting even the simplest routines. Water, once abundant and free, became a scarce and expensive commodity, costing more than garri, a staple food made from cassava. For the first time, the villagers found themselves in dire straits, and the struggle for survival became painfully real. Among the villagers was Adaugo, a single mother of 5 children. Adaugo was no stranger to hardship. After her husband passed away from a sudden illness, she had shouldered the responsibility of raising her children alone. Her days were filled with endless toil, but she carried on with quiet determination, driven by her love for her children. Now, faced with the escalating crisis, Adaugo's resilience was put to the ultimate test. Adaugo's modest home was at the edge of Umuachara, where the sound of the river once offered a soothing rhythm to her evenings. But that year, the river dried to a trickle. The wells in the village, once overflowing, were now nearly empty. Water vendors from distant towns seized the opportunity to hike their prices, and soon, a single bucket of water cost more than a family's meal. Water DON PASS GARRI, Adaugo muttered under her breath one morning as she prepared her children's breakfast. The garri she soaked in water for them was almost gone, and the water she used came at a price she could barely afford. Her eldest child, 12-year-old Ezin, looked up from her plate. "Mama, what does that mean?" Adaugo managed a smile. "It means things are harder than they should be, my daughter. But don't worry, we'll get through this." That day, Adaugo made her way to the market with a basket of cassava and vegetables from her small farm. She hoped to sell enough to buy water for her family. The market was buzzing with worried conversations. Women haggled over prices, and men whispered about the worsening drought. Adaugo approached a water vendor with her earnings. The man, a wiry figure with a calculating gaze, shook his head. "Madam, this money won't buy more than half a bucket," he said. Adaugo's heart sunk. "Please, I have 5 children. Can't you give me just one full bucket?" The vendor shrugged. "If I give you more, what will I have left to sell to others?" Adaugo swallowed her pride and bought what she could. She carried the half-filled bucket home, her arms aching from the weight and her spirit heavy with worry. That evening, she rationed the water among her children, keeping none for herself. As the days turned into weeks, the situation grew worse. Adaugo's children began to show signs of dehydration. Her youngest, little NKM, fell ill, his small body weakened by the lack of water. Adaugo knew she couldn't go on like this. One night, after putting her children to bed, she sat outside and gazed at the dry riverbed. Tears welled up in her eyes. "God, help me," she prayed. "I can't do this alone." The next morning, she resolved to act. She gathered a group of women in the village and shared her plan. "We must dig deeper into the old well near the river," she said. "If we work together, we might find water." The women hesitated. The well had been abandoned for years, rumored to be cursed. But Adaugo's determination inspired them. "If we do nothing, our children will suffer," she said. The women began their work early the next day. Armed with shovels, buckets, and ropes, they dug into the dry, cracked earth. The men of the village soon joined, impressed by the woman's resolve. Hours turned into days, and still, they dug. Adaugo worked tirelessly, her hands blistered but her spirit unyielding. Finally, on the 5th day, a miracle happened. A faint trickle of water appeared at the bottom of the well. The villagers cheered, their voices echoing through the hills. They worked together to widen the opening and construct a system to draw the water efficiently. Adaugo was the first to fill a bucket. She held it up, tears streaming down her face. "This is for all of us," she said. The well became a lifeline for Umuachara. Though the water was rationed, it was enough to sustain the village. Adaugo's children regained their strength, and little NKM recovered fully. The community grew closer, united by their shared struggle and triumph. Months later, as the rainy season returned, the river flowed once more. The crisis passed, but the lessons remained. The villagers celebrated with a feast, and Adaugo was honored as a symbol of resilience and leadership. Moral of the story: in times of crisis, unity and determination can overcome even the greatest challenges. Adaugo's story reminds us that hope, courage, and community are the true wells from which we draw our strength.